What is your goal as a member of the CPRC, West Point Candidate Public Relations Council?
Yeah, so the purpose of this program is to send cadets who've been there for a few years back to their high schools, back to their towns. We interact with the community. I talked to the, I think it was the Optimist group about a week ago. And we're supposed to do a couple things. So one, just sort of get the image of the academy out there. Not a ton of people know about it, outside of people who are really just already in the military community. So let people know that it exists. It's an opportunity for kids, to go through it whenever they're sophomores, juniors, seniors. And then sort of let people know what the application process is like. And I'd say the biggest goal isn't, I'm not here to recruit. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to just sort of go back to high school and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing with my life. This is where I'm at. This is what's allowed me to get to this point. And this is sort of an example that, the young guys and girls who don't really know what to do or don't really know where to go, they can take maybe some of the values and the things I've learned at West Point into their lives, and sort of use it to work on themselves and get better.
Tell me about your time at LHS and what prepared you for West Point.
Well, I was here for 3 years. I got here as a sophomore from Waynesville, actually. Parents were in the Army, so moved around a lot.
Really?
Yeah, we moved to Waynesville. We were there for about 2 years, and then we came here. Beautiful town, by the way. But I was here, so I was here sophomore, junior, senior year. I came in, I joined the football team right away because that was kind of my in to make friends over the summer. And that was a really good time. I met all the coaching staff, all wonderful, amazing people. I got a really good connection with Coach Wade over time. But when I was here, I did a lot of, just the standard stuff. I was on football, track, tried wrestling, wasn't good at it. And then there were a few more. I was in a NHS, and then I tried to do speech and debate. I was kind of on and off with that.
Yeah.
It was a little embarrassing to get up in front of people. And then there was student council. I did student council. It was a good time as well. And I had a great time when I was here. There's a ton of the staff and the teachers here who I think you don't really appreciate how good of a system is until you leave. And you're like, oh, these people cared about me. That was really good.
What has your time at West Point been like? Highlights and challenges?
Yeah, hard for sure. I would say being at West Point is sort of like being in like a big cauldron. It's just super hot. Everything's bubbling. Everybody's trying to get you. That's how it feels at first. You come in, you go through. We have a different basic training. It's not like normal. Normal it's like several more weeks than ours. But we go in. They shave your head. They yell at you. Normal stuff. You try not to pee yourself while you're waiting in a big line to get some shots. And then, you go through your year, you start out as a plebe. You have to cup your hands when you're outside. You can't talk. You have to put your heel in the corner every time you walk somewhere. It's a little weird. And then as time goes on, there's this system that's set up that just turns you into a leader. So then when you graduate and you become a lieutenant, you know what you're doing. And the biggest purpose is they want you to be a good person by the time that you graduate. I would say the biggest thing for me that I got there is just you get put in a lot of really difficult situations. And the growth that you get from that is really incredible. I got put in a class. There's a lot of physical classes. One of the first things I did was there was a boxing class, and the point of the class is not to learn how to box, it's to learn how to get punched in the face and kind of just keep moving. I got rocked a lot. I was bleeding all over the place. But you just kind of learn to move with the punches and keep moving.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. And then there's a swim class. I couldn't swim when I got to West Point, which is a little embarrassing. But they just kind of throw you in the water. They're like, hey man, you're going to have to learn how to swim. You don't want to drown. And that's the system that's set up. They put you in a hard spot and they're like, all right, we're throwing you to the fire, figure it out. And then through doing that, you become much stronger and you get a lot better at adapting to situations.
What motivated you to apply to West Point, and when did you realize it was the right path for you?
I mean, parents were all in the military, like I said. Father, mother, stepdad, stepmom. That was somewhat of a motivator, but my parents were never the people who were like, you need to do exactly what I did. They never pushed me towards that. I think I heard about West Point in middle school because of my dad. He was watching the Army football game, and he was like, you could be a cadet. But I'd say I really committed to doing it sophomore year when I was here. I got a buddy who graduated from here the year before me, Sam Cooper. He's there right now. He's about to graduate, actually. Met in the football team, and we sort of worked through the process together. And I sort of realized, I do academics and stuff. I do football. I do all these things. Like, where's a place that I can go where I can continue to sort of be honed physically and mentally? And it sort of just stuck out as like, this is the place that I need to be. Process was hard. Took a long time. Wasn't rejected, but I didn't really meet the standards at first. So I had to spend a ton of time, working on my academics and working on myself physically. But at the end of it, I got there. So.
All right. What does a typical day look like for you as a cadet? Academically, militarily, or socially?
Oh Lord. Well, you wake up about 6:20. Depends on the year. So like I'm a junior right now, so it's not as bad. But I wake up at probably 6:10, 6:20. Get out of bed. I gotta shave. Throw my uniform on, whatever the uniform is. You gotta actually call like this little line that tells you what it is. Yeah. And then it sounds just like that. You call in, they tell you what the uniform is, you throw it on, and then you gotta get shaved, you gotta like make sure you look decent, you gotta clean up your room. All that happens in like 15 minutes. And then you leave your door open so your room can get inspected during the day. You run out, you get a formation at 6:47 most of the time. You all just stand out there in the cold and look at each other for like 10 minutes. And then you go to breakfast. That ends at 7:25, and then you run to classes.
When does breakfast start?
Breakfast starts at 7:10. So there's a big announcement. It looks like Hogwarts.
It ends at 7:20, right?
Yeah. You got like 10-15 minutes, but it's the mess hall is like Hogwarts. You kind of walk in, there's like flags and lights, and some guy goes, all right, take seats, and then you can all sit. They bring you your food, you eat your food, and then they go, they like tell you to rise, and then you leave and run to your classes. So not a lot of time to eat, but you figure it out. You go to classes, they start at 7:40, and then depending on what your schedule is, it ends before lunch. Lunch is at 12. Another formation at 11:50. You kind of just stand around and look at each other. You go eat lunch, you got about 15 minutes there, and then you run to your next class, and you're in classes pretty much until like 4. This is all depending on your schedule. Sometimes you don't have anything after lunch or something sick. And then, after you're done with classes, you run to a company athletic. So basically, if you're not on a D1 team, you have this sort of extracurricular sport that you do. I did flag football because I played football and I didn't know what to do. You basically go out and do that for like an hour and a half. You come back and then you do your homework. You eat dinner at some point. I'm typically in bed. I'm typically asleep by maybe 11:30 or midnight every night. So I don't know. Sleep is rough, but it's definitely worthwhile.
All right. What was the most challenging part of the application process, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, it's gotta be between the physical part and the academic part. So there's 3 things that they look for. It's are you like a leader? What kind of character do you have? Are you a good person? So that's like, are you a captain of a team? Do you volunteer? They look for academics, so they want to know like what's your GPA, what was your test scores, and then they look for physical. So that's again like what team are you on, but also you take a physical test called the CFA. I was good as far as the leadership stuff went because I like volunteered for all this stuff. I had a hard time physically because I was playing football here. I was on the offensive line. I was playing right tackle. I was not that big, but I was large.
I was nose guard.
Well, there you go. See, it's like, so imagine take you as nose guard. It's like, all right, buddy, you're gonna have to be a track athlete now. Like, that's crazy. I went out. And I must have been like 230 pounds at the time. And I had to do this whole physical test. And the standards were crazy. I think you do the whole thing. You do like a shuttle, you do a run, you do push-ups, pull-ups. The pull-ups are crazy. And then you have to get to the 1 mile run at the end. The average time for guys is like 6:40, which is a lot for me. I missed the average women's time by 1 second. I ran like an 8-minute 1 mile. It was bad. So I spent a lot of time losing weight, working with Coach Wade, who it was a blessing to have him. Eventually got there. And then the other hard part was just the math. I've always been okay at math. I was always like the dumb guy in the smart math class. So I went out and took the ACT. I did great on like most of it. And then the math part, I got like a 25 and the minimum is a 26. So I had to go back and take that like 8 times, which meant I had to go to Camden 8 times, which I was not happy about because I do not like Camden. But I don't like Camden. I'm not a fan. Okay. But yeah, that was probably the hardest part.
How has West Point changed you so far? Your leadership style, discipline, or perspective on service?
Ooh. I'd say character-wise, the institution is primarily focused on. I mean, the stated goal is to make leaders of character who are committed to military service. A lot of people have this misconception right now, especially now, where they think that you go to West Point and the purpose is like making this killer, this crazy guy who's going to do all these things, and you're in crazy shape and like. All this stuff, that's part of it, and you want to do that, but that happens after you leave. You go to a different school that makes you do that. The purpose of the academy is to just make you into a good person who's going to be a good leader. I was not that when I came. I thought I was, but something, I just talked to the kids in the weight room about this, something you don't realize when you're here or when you're not around these type of people is that, it's really difficult to try to be a leader. It's really difficult to improve yourself if you don't think that there's anything to improve. If you're the guy who's like has a big ego like I did, if you think that you're the big guy on the block, there's no reason to make yourself better. When I got to West Point, I was surrounded by people who were all better than me, all the people who were stronger than me, faster than me, smarter than me, and I had to be like, okay, I can do two things. I can quit, I can give up, I can be like, all right, this just isn't for me, which a lot of people do. Or I can sort of just put my nose down, find what I'm good at, and work very hard. And what I figured out was, all these guys who were valedictorians and who were captains of like three teams, all this, those are not the guys who are super successful. It's the people who failed in high school, who had challenges, who end up doing better, because everyone's going to fail. A lot of these guys have never failed, and so they don't know how to get back up. I think that was my greatest strength, and that was the thing that helped me the most, and that's the way that I've grown the most, is just like being humble, because I was not, and they made me be humble by putting me in that fire.
All right. What advice would you give as a high school student who's considering applying but isn't sure they're ready?
I think, first of all, even if you're not looking at West Point, if you're not looking at the military, just be very, very, very careful about what you say you want to do. Because so many of my friends, people who are at West Point, people who are at civilian colleges, or people who are in trade schools, like whatever you're doing, right? So many people make that decision because their parents told them to, or because their friends told them to, because they just didn't know what to do. You can't let other people tell you what you can and can't do. It never goes well, because if you aren't committed to what you're doing, you're not gonna do well, because you don't want to be there. So I would say, first of all, make your own decisions. Beyond that, if you are looking at West Point specifically, I would say just kind of put yourself in the shoes that I was in. Like, if you are a dog and you're great at everything, that's really cool. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But you're gonna get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm not good at this thing. And you can either just like give up and back off, or you can put your nose down and work really hard and get there. So if you are applying, I would say, try to be a leader in the community, try to go out and volunteer, help people. It's really important that you just are a good person for your life. But go out, volunteer, go try to be a leader, go, be that guy who's on the team, is like, all right, I want to be team captain. How do I get there? Work really hard in the classroom. And then keep yourself in shape, because so many people get so caught up on the academics, so caught up on the leadership, that they just kind of let it slip. Like, no, it's a big deal that you can run a mile in like 6 minutes. Yeah.
What was reception day and cadet basic training like for you, and how did those first few weeks shape your transition into West Point?
Oh gosh, you guys did good research. Reception day is awful. So we call it our day. It's the worst thing. It's literally the worst thing ever. You show up. I thought I was going to be a cool guy. I like kind of shaved my head beforehand, because I knew they would shave my head. I showed up with like kind of a buzz. I shaved my beard off, which was the worst. I haven't had a beard since then. But you show up, they walk you in and they trick you. It's deception. You walk in and there's a cadet there. He's super nice. He's like, "Hey buddy, welcome to West Point. Come to this line." And you follow him in and you're like, "Oh, this is awesome. This isn't so bad." And you get to like a door, and when you go past the door, it's like, okay, this guy's leaving, and then this guy comes in immediately yelling at you. And so like the transition is crazy. It completely catches you off guard. And so, you walk in, the guy starts yelling at you. You're in a line. The first place they take you, which is heinous, the first place they take you is the barbershop. So immediately you're bald. I don't know how everybody's doing. My hairline was not great, and it was pretty bad actually. And I hadn't seen it because my hair was super long. So they shaved me up. I can feel like the pores on my head, and I'm really upset about it. And they walk me out. They take you through these lines and like throw bags at you, and you're carrying this massive green bag just full of all this crap that you've never seen in your life. Just like lugging it around. You're like, you got a limp. You get in a bunch of lines. Everybody's yelling at you for some reason. I don't know who any of you are. Why are you yelling at me? And then there's this really iconic part where you walk up to, it's like the cadet in the red sash is what it's called. It's just a senior, it's first year. That they're standing there. You have to report to them. I've never reported to anybody. I don't know what I'm doing. So you're out there waiting in line, and you're like moving your shoes around because you got to learn how to do the facing movements. And then they call you up, and they're like, "All right, you come here." You walk up, and you just like step behind the line, not over the line, but like not really on the line. And then you look at this guy who's like staring a hole through your skull, and you're like, okay. You put your hand up, and you like report to him. And there's a script you have to memorize. You have 2 seconds to memorize it. It's so many words. And I did really bad. I had to do it like 5 times. They kept sending me back and sending me back and sending me back. And it was really embarrassing. And there were people like crying, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure it out eventually. You finally report. They let you in the building, and you just keep getting yelled at. But like the whole purpose of reception day and the beast in general, beast is what the basic is called, is to take these people who ostensibly are these like, this guy's super smart, he's athletic, he's a leader, blah blah, and just like smack you in the face, immediately break you down, because they don't want the high school rock star. They want somebody who's gonna work really hard and join the organization. They don't want you. They want you to like be a part of something bigger.
They don't want troublemakers.
Yeah, like they want to make you something better. So they break you down so they can build you back up. That's really the whole point of it. And that was the most sort of growth thing for me because I needed that and I didn't know I needed that.
Lego Castle.
Exactly like Lego Castle. And I was like all the little 1x1s just all over the place. It was terrible. But yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah. Okay, how did the 4th class system, like pleb duties, memorizing knowledge, and mess hall traditions impact your daily life as a first-year cadet?
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad time, man. It was rough, let me tell you. So when you're a plebe, you aren't like a real person, pretty much. You're like a redhead. You just don't have a soul. Like, you don't get to do what you want. You walk in, you gotta have your hands like this all the time. You can't talk. You have to put your like heel in the corner every time you walk somewhere. You gotta call all these guys who are like a year older than you, maybe not, by ranks and by their last name. It's very weird. And when you're in there, when you're in it, you're like, oh, this sucks. I hate all of this. Why am I doing this? Why is everybody yelling at me? This is terrible. No one has it as bad as me. Like, there's like a famous line where, the cadet like calls around. He's like, West Point's so hard, Mom, I want to go home. And you get through your plebe year, and it's not until the end that you realize that everything has a greater purpose to it, and you can't see it until you sort of get out of your own head. So like I hated being a plebe. It was really annoying because I had an ego, and I didn't know I had an ego until I was a plebe. I was like, oh, I probably got to work on this. And by the time you get to the end of the year, you realize like, no, these, I have to cut my hands. I have to not talk outside because I have to learn how to follow a rule, even if I don't know why the rule is there. You have to call these upperclassmen by a rank, even though they're the same age as you, because in the Army, you're going to have to call people by a rank, even if they're the same age as you. Like, everything has a purpose, and you don't realize it until you're no longer in those shoes. So that was, I don't know, just teaching you the lesson that, like, sometimes you just got to do something. Like, you don't always need to know the reason why.
Can you describe some of the major milestones of plebe year, such as March back?
Yeah, March back.
Such as March back and Acceptance Day.
Yeah.
And what they meant to you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. So those happen over the summer. Our days at the beginning of the summer, probably on the 27th of June. And then the end of cadet basic training, which is about 6 weeks, you have the march back. Basically, you're out in the field just sucking. It's terrible. It's hot, and you're sweaty, and you stink, and you haven't showered for 4 days, and you like just clean yourself with like a wipe, but it doesn't work. And you're eating this god-awful food. Like,
ham and cheese sandwiches?
No, wow, that'd be cool. They give you MREs, and that's already bad enough, but I had a beef goulash one, and it was horrific. I threw up. I hated it. And it's cold, and it's wet, and it's nasty. But, you're out there. That's where you're at. And then they bring you back for march back. It's a 12-mile march up and down like these roads and these hills. And you got this big old backpack on, and you're in so much pain. And everyone's yelling at you the whole time. And so, you make it back, and it's sort of representative of like the journey that you've been on and the journey that you're about to go on. Because, you finish this massive ordeal. You're like, oh, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I can't believe I just got through that. And then you start. Like, that's when you begin the hard part. And you get to the end and you ring this little bell to like signal that you're done. But in a way, it's signaling that you're about to begin like your journey at West Point. And so that was a really big deal for me because I had seen videos of my buddy Sam, who went there the year before me, doing the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can do more than I thought I could do. Like I'm capable of a lot more. And then acceptance day is awesome. Your parents are there. Everybody kind of shows up and says hi, and all the hugs and the kisses, and everybody's so happy. But it's a really weird feeling, because like I saw my grandma and I was like 20 pounds lighter than when I got to West Point. Like it was this frail little thing. And other people seeing the change that you've made is the way that you've really done something like serious. Because you can never tell. And this is true of like even outside of this. I didn't know how much I had changed until I went back to my family, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Ethan, you're skinnier. You're not talking about yourself 24/7. Like you're not being weird. Like all these things I didn't know. You don't know until your family sees you. So that was the biggest thing for me was getting back and being like, okay, like I have made a change, and I'm gonna continue to like make this change.
All right, what were the most memorable spirit or game day traditions you experienced during your plebe year? Especially leading up to the Army-Navy game.
Ooh, yeah, that one's fun. So we have this changed recently. We used to have a spirit dinner every Thursday where you go into the mess hall and all the plebes dress up, however you want. The upperclassmen can wear civilian clothes, but I went in and I had like a bathrobe and like a combat helmet and like a fake gun and like face paint all over myself, and I looked completely ridiculous. But everybody's just dressed up super fun. There's people in like Batman costumes. And we had an unfortunate incident, which led to us no longer being able to do it for the time being. Because there was a guy in my grade who I'm not going to name, but he like wrapped himself completely in duct tape, like his whole body, which is just like a terrible idea. What are you doing? Seemed really painful. But he just kind of like waddled in, covered in duct tape, and we all just looked at him like, is this okay? I don't know.
Is he a penguin or something?
I don't know. He looked like it, and it's like, is this allowed? I don't know. And somehow it got out, and somebody saw it, and it looked bad, so we can't do it anymore. But he is now forever known as Tape Plebe. Like, this guy's a junior. He's gonna be a lieutenant in the Army in a year, and he's the Tape Plebe guy. Like, that's terrible.
Mr. Tape Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, ugh. I think other than that, I mean, there's a ton of fun stuff. We have cadets from other academies, so like we have Air Force guys and Navy guys. This is probably a little secret, but when I was a plebe, I saw a video of they had like captured a Navy guy and they like duct taped him to a chair and they were like dumping water on him. Like he consented to it, so it wasn't like torture. But like there's so many of these traditions where we're just all messing with each other from between the academies. And then one thing I did that I love for Christmas dinner, you go out, everybody sort of get your food. There's this massive banquet that gets prepared, and you go out and smoke a cigar. I'd never done that. I never smoked anything until I got to West Point, and it's such a cool tradition because like you buy them for the upperclassmen. You go onto the plane, and it's freezing cold, and there's so many cigars that like the air is just full of smoke. There's a statue of George Washington. You shouldn't be able to get up there for the record. Like, you need several people. But we get up there. You jump up on the statue, you hop on the horse, and this is crazy that I'm telling you this. The horse is anatomically correct. Like, it has testicles. And you go up there, and you notice that the whole horse and George Washington are all, like, blue, like the Statue of Liberty. Like, because it's made of bronze. It's old. Except for the horse's nuts. They're bronze. They're shined, because you go up there and the plebes every year like shine them off so they remain like sparkly. I got a picture of me kissing them, which is kind of crazy. But that was super fun. And then the only other thing I'll say is that during Christmas dinner I chugged like a whole thing of apple cider and I threw up everywhere. Didn't feel great afterwards, but I felt really cool in the moment because everybody was like cheering you on. But that's probably them.
Or milestones have been since your freshman year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you do all the plebe stuff, and you sort of get past it. And whenever you become a yearling, which is the first year that you're a sophomore, you become a cow, which is what they call juniors. Um, your position changes, your role changes. You become a very different. What you do is very different. So as a plebe, you have no responsibilities. You just exist. You just live, and you do things wrong, and everybody yells at you. As a yearling, you're in charge of one plebe, and that's like your first experience with leadership. Um, and then as a cow, that summer you do a leadership detail. So I was in charge. I was in charge of probably like 35 cadets. And then you come back and you can be an adult now. I would say, I mean, a lot of the fun stuff, it kind of remains the same, but it's just more fun now because no one can yell at you. I've chugged apple cider again. This year I encourage other people to do it because I didn't want to be the guy because I don't want to throw up again. But let's see, we had an Air Force cadet, so we all make our beds like very tightly and nicely. We had an Air Force cadet who we took his bed and threw it into the lake that's up at West Point and like tied him to it. So he was just, poor guy was just like floating around in the lake during Air Force Week. I know in my company, so when the firsties, which is the seniors, when they're about to graduate, they get their rings, they get their branch, and they figure out what their post is going to be, like where they're going. On the night that they get, I think it's their branches, which is like what part of the army you're going to be in. It's a tradition just like mess with their room. And so now what we do is you just like throw shaving cream on the doors and like paint smiley faces and embarrassing pictures. I remember AI is wonderful. We made like girl versions of all the guys and like put it up on all the doors, which was super fun. But the craziest thing that happened, and I think it's true. I saw a picture of it. We have a bed. We sleep at West Point. There's a bed, and it has like a compartment inside where you can put all your stuff. Somebody took, it must have been hundreds of cartons of milk, and just dumped it in. And so this whole bed is just full of milk all the way to the top, and it's the most disgusting thing ever, because there's holes in the bed, so it's leaking onto the floor. I don't know who had to clean that up. I wasn't a part of that. But I bet it stank. I bet it was sticky and disgusting. Yes. And it does expired
milk.
Yes. And it was crazy to see. And speaking of expired milk, there's something called Frog Week. So there's a bunch of companies. That's what we're all split into. It's A through I. Yeah. A through I, and then there's 1 through 4. So like A1, B4, whatever. F4 is the frogs. That's like what their company is. They're awful. Every year, once a year, for 1 week, and they never tell us when. They just ambush us, and so like our sleep is very precious. I sleep like 6 hours a night. It's awful, which is partially my fault. But they go around at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., just screaming, just hooting and hollering all over the campus. They have air horns and sirens. And they're yelling, and they're all dressed up like frogs, and they're hopping around, and they go through the halls and do all this ridiculous stuff. They're just a menace for like a week. And it used to be a thing that you could throw like expired cartons of milk at them because what are you doing? I want to be in bed right now. Go away. That's no longer allowed. But Frog Week is probably the worst part because it's like, dude, I want to sleep. Why is there a guy with a frog hat on jumping around the halls right now? Like, what are we doing? Yeah, that's probably the best one. All right.
I think so. I mean, that was a great story.
What's about to happen?
Go ahead and everything good? So what would be your goal in the next year? And then, of course, your hopeful branch and assignment.
Yeah, so I've been super lucky. I've gotten really, really lucky since I've been here at the Academy. I've gotten a lot of really good opportunities. I've met like half of the president's cabinet somehow randomly. We go to DC all the time, and that's a group that I'm part of. But I say that to say, in the next year, I'm part of a group that spends a lot of time up in DC learning politics because I'm into politics. There's a trip that they're going to do going around Europe and just sort of learning about like the world wars and what was going on at the time and sort of the lessons that we can take away from a lot of the leaders that were doing things around that. Yeah, so like I hope to be on that. That'd be cool. I'm going to study abroad next semester. I'm going to be in Chile, which is going to be awesome at the Chilean Military Academy. Hopefully, if things all work out. It was really hard to get a passport because I never had one. But like that's my biggest goal at the moment. And then as far as sort of career prospects go, I wanted to branch aviation. I wanted to fly helicopters. That's not happening because my eye doesn't work, but whatever. So now I'm thinking about engineers. So I think it'd be really cool to sort of go. What I'm looking at is I want to go around the world and just like build houses and things for a lot of these like impoverished countries. I think that'd be really good. And then long term, I'm studying international affairs and environmental engineering. And so I hope after the military, because you have your 5 years, which is how you like pay for college, and then you have your 3 years in the reserves. I hope after the military to use that. I want to go work in the government. So, CIA, FBI, there's a lot of people that hire straight out of West Point to go there. And then ultimate like life career goal. I really want to work in the House of Representatives or the Senate. I want to run for office, probably North Carolina, because I think that's where I'll be living at the time. But that's like super far from the future. We don't really know if that's going to happen. But yeah, that's the long term goal.
That's exciting.
Nice.
Congratulations on all these opportunities. I was an Air Force grad, moved around like 18 times by the time I went to high school, and so I'm familiar with the life. And as a journalist, I was assigned to Fort Leonard Wood, and every week I would report on all the things going on. It's amazing opportunities to be a part of that, especially during 9/11 and things like that was pretty heavy. But going, seeing a student, rise through the ranks and have opportunities to serve our country is very fulfilling. And I'm excited to see where you're going. And being an engineer, you might be coming to Fort Wood at some point.
Probably, yeah. That's the place to be.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you spent much time at Fort Leonard Wood.
I did. My dad was there for a while. We were out there. Yeah, we were living in Waynesville at the time. I went to high school there. Yeah. Not nearly as cool as Lebanon. But yeah, we were out there for a while.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And so, what does your dad do? Is in the military?
Yeah. So let's see. Dad, mom, stepdad, stepmom were all enlisted.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they're all in around the time. They all got out except for my dad. He got out very recently. He retired my senior year of high school in 23. He was an MP. So he was in that forever. And there's like a stigma around MPs now. There's the guys who pull you over on base. When he did it, it was cool, is what he tells me, because they would deploy and they would just go do infantry stuff, like they just go through buildings and villages. But yeah, he was a like military cop.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if you know the Little family. I don't know that anyway. He was an MP for many years, and so I got to know him and kind of discover a lot of what they do when they're deployed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty powerful stuff. And love to hear about your engineering goals. My son is an engineer student at Rolla S&T.
Yeah, oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so he's just a freshman this year, but he's really into the technology and things. And I'm sure that things are changing faster than you can blink.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, what do you have to deal with adapting to some of these changes in our society and technology?
I mean, I honestly, this is like the standard answer, but the advent of AI has been crazy, and that's beyond just engineering. Like just at the academy, we have several classes that everyone's required to take on computing, and like cyber fundamentals is what I'm in right now. And the classes have changed so much because AI is going to be a tool. It's going to be around for a long time. And so what we want to do is empower, I say we, the academy. What they want to do is empower these people who are going to be future leaders to know how to use these tools to enhance the things that they're making. But it's obviously been a worry. Like I see you guys have a poster over there talking about like the AI integration.
I'm on the AI team, and so I want to use it ethically.
Yeah,
is the key.
Yeah, that's the big issue is knowing where the line is. West Point cares a great deal, like I said, about character and about being honest, not lying, cheating, stealing, tolerating anyone who does. And so with AI, it's like, where's the line? Where am I no longer the one who's doing the work? Where am I now just using an LLM to create a whole essay? And so what they want to do is have us be very informed on what it is, how it works, who's powering it, and then how it can help us to do our jobs better in a more effective way. And the biggest thing that I've taken away from the class that I'm in is that it's not, generative AI and whatever it turns into is not the producer. It's to enhance, it's to help. But if I'm not the originator of it, it's not mine, and so that's not acceptable. And it also, it's not perfect. Like I use it to research sometimes, and it just makes up links. Like it just creates things. Like it imagines things because it wants to tell you what you want to hear. And so that's the biggest technological change that I've seen, and it's crazy seeing it happen in real time as we like change the infrastructure of how things are to adapt to it. But I'd say overall, I think it's a good thing. I think that it's helped a great deal of people get access to things that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. So that's the biggest change.
I mean, I find it to be very useful for brainstorming.
Yeah.
Usually anybody has maybe the analytical or the creative or the problem solving skills. You're going to be able to respond, hopefully in a positive way to say, okay, well, this is a good starting point, but let's take it up a notch. And that's what we did with these questions. Mm-hmm. We talked about, okay, what are these basic information and how can we personalize it? And that's hopefully we can make that a point in any time we use technology.
Yeah, the questions were. I was blown away. It started off with normal things like what's your goal, blah blah. But you started mentioning like R Day and A Day and all these things. Like, oh, okay, did a little bit of research. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Alright, you guys are going to hear some information from Ethan Faircloth, who is a former LHS graduate, and he went to, or is still at West Point. And he'll talk about his experience, how to get into West Point, why it's prestigious, his training, all the things. So, here we go.
Is that presentation still over?
Oh, I have no idea. Did you have a presentation?
I do, I don't have to do it.
We'll do it after.
Alright, cool. Hi guys. Why are you all in here?
To listen to you.
Yeah? Whatever? Alright, cool. What's the class you guys are in?
Honors.
Okay, that was so many answers. What are you in? Culinary? Psychology? Is this just like, if you're interested, come listen to this, or what? Alright, cool, that's fun. How many of you guys are like older than sophomores? Okay, some. Cool. Oh my gosh. I heard there was one girl who was applying, maybe. Is that person here?
No, we have a male student who's in the process of applying for West Point.
Where's he at? Hey, dude. I'll talk to you after.
Okay.
I can wait the presentation thing.
I can get it ready, I just didn't know. But yeah, I can flip it down. Do you have a Macintosh or a PC computer?
I have a computer with me.
Like a PC though?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's
I can just like flip through some of the information, I guess.
We call him Cinder Block. He's about strong as hell. He's like Brock Lesnar.
He doesn't like Brock.
Oh yeah.
Call him the white rhino wrestler. I'm serious. He's a block of the red.
That is cool.
Pretty good.
Just like after. I have to journey 3 times.
Yes, everybody speaks. Yeah, I'm for sure to share. Remember the one?
The one I had on there was dead, so I had to run all the way back to my parents' kids.
Were you in that in time?
Okay, I'll get it. You do what you need to do. I'll bring it back over. Anything else? Okay. All right, guys, it's back up.
All right, the technology is working now, people. All right, so hi everybody. My name's Ethan. I graduated in 2023. How many of you were in here the first time I was in here? Just you. Okay, cool. This is pretty bad. I didn't have my thing up, but we'll do better now. So I graduated a couple years ago. I went to West Point. I applied when I was here. When I was here, I was on the football team. I ran track. I was really bad when I was on the team. And I did some of the nerdy stuff like student council and NHS and all that weirdness. I also had a class with Miss Hudson. It was psychology and it was awesome. We just watched movies the whole time. It was great. So I'm at West Point right now. It's a academy up in New York. It's a military academy, so basically you go up and they yell at you for a couple months in the summer. You go to like normal classes throughout the year. And then, you know, as time goes on, you don't pay while you're there, like they pay you to be there, which is sick. And then you go and like be an officer in the Army for like 5 years after you get out. It's pretty fun. But I'm not here to like be an admissions guy. I think it's cool. It's been really, really good for me. Because I think I've grown so much as a person. Because, probably a little bit of this. If you're the type of person that you're athletic and you do like okay to well in school, and you kind of see yourself as a leader, or you want to be, this is the place. This is why I wanted to go, because it's a place that sort of like fun to do and makes you keep doing that. I've had a great experience. I've drowned twice. I jumped off a helicopter. I almost drowned a third time. I had to crawl through like a big bucket of mud, which was really unfortunate. And I chugged a ball of a thing out the side of a river. So like that's my highlight of being here for a couple years. It's super fun. But I'm just gonna go through and sort of give you guys the information about it. So you guys are aware, and maybe if you have like a friend who's into this, they can do it. It's really just for fun. I know most of you guys aren't gonna like go and look this up after, but we're having a good time, right? How much time do we have?
Like 15 more minutes.
Alright, that's fun. I took it out of the video, so it's not gonna be weird. You know, sorry. So this is kind of what I'm gonna talk through. I'm gonna skip through a lot of this because of the time constraint. This is really just letting you guys know what's going on in the world. It's kind of just fun to know. So the point of the academy, does anybody have parents who are in the military at all? Okay, a few. Does anybody have a parent who's an officer? Do you know if there's a difference? Maybe not. Fair enough. So basically, in the Army you have officers and you have enlisted. The officers are the ones who are kind of like in charge a little bit. And there's a couple ways that you can become an officer. You commission and you either go to a college, like what I'm doing. You go to ROTC, is probably the one you've heard of. Or you start as an enlisted soldier and you just like move over. The academies are different. There's one for each service, so like Army, Navy, Air Force. And you go through and basically they just like destroy you for 4 years. And then they make you better so that when you go out and lead, you're not like a bad guy. Or girl. That's kind of the point. And so the purpose of the academy, and I don't know if it's on the news sometimes, is not to make us into like these. Is not to make us into like these lethal like killers who go out and do crazy stuff. It's just to make you like a good person, which is pretty cool. And you spend 4 years just figuring out how to do that. But this is the stated purpose: is that you're a leader, character, and you don't think. Because you don't want bad people in charge of people with guns. Probably down. So this is what West Point gives. You get a full scholarship. That's a little misleading because you do have to like be in the Army for 5 years, but it's a guaranteed job. So it's cool. You get your bachelor of science when you graduate. So whatever major you want to do, like normal major, normal college, they pay you to be there, and you get full like medical care, and you get money for food and stuff. Obviously you get the job after you leave, and there's a ton of D1 teams. What they don't tell you is that most of them are really bad. The Army football team is garbage, but it's fun to watch, and I have a good time. And what actually happens a lot of time is kids will go in, and this is like the lowest level D1 hockey. So they'll go and they'll like play football here for a year, and then they'll transfer somewhere else that's way better. And this is like the stepping stone, but it's a good thing. The school is different from most schools. There's 3 GPAs. Unless something has changed, you also have 1 GPA. There's a GPA for your academics, your physical, and then your military. The academics is exactly what it sounds like. It's just your grades. The physical one is, there's really like cool and fun classes. Like my first class I got into when I got to the West Point was a boxing class. We just fight each other, you punch in the face. I was okay, and then I was too good, and then I fought a guy who was really big, and he beat me up for like 5 minutes. Not fun. And then there's other classes where they like throw you in a pool, and you have to figure out how to swim. I didn't know how to swim until I was like 19, which is anyone in this room also not know how to swim? 1? Okay, 2. And then there's one where you like learn how to do MMA stuff. Like it's super fun. And then the military one is basically like, are you good at listening to what people tell you? I was not when I left here, as some of the teachers in this room can attest. But it happens every time. I don't know. So this is some fun facts. This is what the academy like looks like. The mess hall is somewhere. I think it's right there. It kind of looks like Hogwarts inside. Like there's a bunch of cool flags and like magical lights and stuff. And you get food from a bunch of people who no one speaks English, so it's cool because it's not and some fun facts. So it was made in 1802. It was the first academy in the United States, first engineering school, and it's about an hour from the city, which is awesome because you can go to New York City and do whatever you want. I know there's not a lot of trains in Missouri, which is not cool, but trains are awesome. You should totally ride one. This is some fun facts. You don't care about this. This is just us trying to brag. This is kind of cool. So these are the people that go. So a ton of presidents, a ton of people who worked in the government have gone. Ulysses Grant from the Civil War, which you probably hopefully know about. He went to West Point. A couple football players, some astronauts, and some other people. There's also kind of a fun thing. So does anybody know what happened in 1945 across the world? With all the guns and the boobs and the back. World War II? Anybody? Okay, so you know World War II. That's good. So there's a big hall in West Point where it says all the Olympians who were from West Point. And it's like this, a ton of names. And then you get to 1947 and it just stops. And there's been not one since then. The thing about that is, all the men and women who could fight were off in World War II at that time, and so we didn't have to send ours away yet. So they were all the Olympians. So like, it looks really cool to say all the Olympians, but we only had Olympians because everyone else was Cadet Life. So it's kind of fun. You get used to it. What time do you guys wake up normally in the morning?
6.
6 a.m. It's on to say 6 a.m. What time do you wake up? 5. Where do you live? Is the bus just like super early? Or you're just cool like that? Okay. Let's see. I was not as cool as you. I lived directly across the street, so I woke up at like 10 minutes before the bell every day, which was awesome. Not like that here. You gotta wake up at like 6 every day, you got formations in the morning, and then you have classes until lunch. And then you have like 10 minutes to eat lunch, and then you go to classes until 4. Then you go play a sport with a bunch of people for like an hour. And all the cool people are on the D1 team, and they're all like doing cool stuff. All the losers like me are called slugs. Not a name that we came up with. And you basically just go play flag football with like your friends for hours. And then you study and do all your own stuff, and you go to bed eventually around 11:30 at night. This is kind of just fun for you guys to know how college works. This is not that different from what you're going to have at any college you go to, so it's probably good for you to know this. Generally, you're going to have, like at any college, your introductory courses, just like the basic stuff that you go for whatever degree. Gen Ed. It's going to be, you're going to have math, you're going to have science, and all this stuff to just kind of orient you to how college works, because college is really different from high school. It's harder and easier in some ways. This is also probably what's going to be like for college. This point it gets weird, so you guys start to dig into your major classes for what you pay again at any college. Once you get to your sophomore or your junior year. But for us, it's a little different. We have a lot more gen eds than normal. So for you guys, you're just going to have your gen eds here and you're going to get knocked out of the bottom.
Okay.
This is how college works. These are all the majors that we have. Most schools also have these majors, so maybe you see one of these and you're like, I want to study this at the zoo or something like that. But these are all the majors that we have. I do international affairs. I think it's cool to basically just study what goes on with countries and why they go to war, which I'm interested in. And most people aren't interested in that. But these are the ones that you're going to find at like most colleges. So get ready to read all this in like 2 years when you have to college. These are the sports that we have. This is just sports. This one's kind of fun. We have club sports. So you have to be on a team of some kind if you're here. And you actually have to pick one. Like I said, if you're cool, you get to be on one team. I'm not cool, so I have to be on the fun football team. But there's a ton of cool stuff that you can do, like around the campus. And a lot of the clubs are sports. Some of them are jumping out of helicopters. There's a video that I took out because it's too long. But basically, what's cool about our school is that you can basically pretty much do whatever you want. Like, does anybody follow politics at all? Anybody? You? Cool. There we go. I'm in a club called Domestic Affairs, and basically we go to DC and we just like meet a bunch of people. Does anybody know who Tulsi Gabbard is? We basically go up there and meet a bunch of people who work for the president and like talk to them. And they're mostly not very cool. Like most of them just talk like they're on the TV, which is no fun. But it's cool to just like be up there and be around people. This is how it works for us. The summers are when you do all the not fun stuff. So your first summer, they shave your head bald. I don't know how your guys' hairlines are looking, but mine is not great. So when I got shaved bald, my hairline was like going back here, and I was really upset about it. And they yell at you for a couple weeks, and then you go to school. You go to your second summer, and you have to go out to the woods for like a week and a half, and just do this. You stink, you can't shower, food is awful. Everybody's like, well, not everybody gets their pants. Some people get their pants because it's really a lot of work hard. It's like, I only have so much time, why would I stop doing it? So it's really stinky. And then your third and fourth summer that you're there, you do a lot more technical stuff. So you'll like go be a leader in something. I was in charge of like 30 cadets over the summer, which was pretty fun. Makes this not as bad because you guys are really cool. The guys I was sitting in front of having to talk to were all bald and they all hated me because I hated all of them. So this is much better for them. And then there's some other cool stuff that we do where we go out to military bases and like learn our job. And go to schools. Like this is aerosol school. That's that. You basically learn how to jump off a helicopter for like 2 weeks and you yell at the whole time. It's super fun. I got beat back twice because there's a field you have to go over and there's goose poop all over because they hate us. And so if you're falling through it, the goose poop goes all over your face and you get picked on. It's not fun. So this is also fun. I'm doing this, so do we know that there's a continent underneath North America called South America? Are we aware of that? It's sick. Cool. So one of the countries in South America is called Chile. I'm going to go study there next semester for the whole semester and just have a time. But something we do is we send kids like all around the world, and you can do this in your college if you go whatever college you go to. Just do a study abroad program. That's why I would say really important. How many people are taking language or will take a language right now? You. Definitely a really good idea to take a free language class when you're in high school. Because a lot of the classes are kind of doo-doo, and I took a lot of them just because it's good for GPA. Language classes are awesome, and you will not get that opportunity in the real world, and it is such a useful skill. If you are just okay at Spanish, your life will get immeasurably better. Like, it's awesome. And so when you go to college, you can use that skill to maybe go and spend like a year in another country for free, and it's awesome. So I would definitely say that if you don't have it added on to your little side business. This is Army stuff. You don't care about this. This is like all the jobs that we can do. So, I mean, basically what we think of it. There's tanks and there's helicopters and there's bombs and people have to be in charge of it. I want to do engineers because I want to go and like build houses around the world for poor people, which I think is cool. But most of these are just like shoot guns and blow stuff up. This is more for you. Basically, the application process, and this is, again, for like all the colleges you'll be applying to, so it's not just for them. For West Point specifically, you have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to be 17, 22, you can't be married, you can't be pregnant. Very cool. Can't be pregnant, or have legal obligation to support a child, and you get a nomination from someone in the Senate or someone in the House. But this part's true for most of you. Do your college applications before they're due. I did not, and I almost got in trouble, and a lot of people also did not. So please please don't be the person who it's your second semester of your senior year of high school and you're just now starting to do applications, because it's not going to work. This though, for you, West Point's a little different because at most schools, the way that this works is it's like just this thing and they kind of care about this. But they take into account your test scores, they take into account your physical fitness, and then they care a lot about like, are you a good person, are you a leader, blah, blah, blah. Which was really cool because it lets you be a lot more well-rounded. But I would say in general, when you're applying to college, write in your essay things that aren't just, I'm different, I'm unique. Like, say why you're different, why are you different. You know, write about your extracurriculars, write about how you're leading. Because colleges really want to hear this from you, even if it's not like military kind of thing. They want to know why you're different from other people. This is for West Point specifically. This is just for you. This is kind of cool. So the way that you get in is you have to have someone who is in the House of Representatives or someone in the Senate give you a nomination, basically saying like, I think this guy or girl is not going to be a terrible person when they get or if your parents in the Army, which you said they are, you can get a nomination directly from the Vice President, which is pretty sad. He doesn't actually talk to you, unfortunately, but you do get a letter. This is the last thing. So this is basically for the people who are interested, or the people who have siblings who are. There's a bunch of cool things you can do where you can go up for a week and just hang out there. They take you through a little tour over the summer. They'll pay for you to come up and come look at it. And then there's people in every single one of the districts in all the states that are running in charge. So they do exist outside of it. This is basically, this is the last slide. This is what the class is composed of. And this is kind of fun because, so out of the 14,000 people who apply every year, 4,500 get a nomination from their representative. 2,000 of them are recommendedly qualified. And then 1,250 actually get into the school. Typically each class has all those things in the middle of the class presidents. I was not those things. I was like an athlete and stuff. But one thing I'll say, and this is what I kind of leave you with, and this is true not only for kind of like college in general, you need to put time into just being a good person. Because so many people get really caught up in like, this is what my GPA is, please take me to your college. I was a great athlete in high school. That's not all of it, that's not what it is. Like, you need to be a good person, you need to know the people around you, you need to know the names of people in your class. You're not going to appreciate what you have right now when high school until it's gone, but you have a really good support system. Like, these instructors who are in this room care about you and want you to do well, and you don't know how crazy that is until you no longer have it. Because most people, I'm blessed because of where I'm at, most people get out of high school and there's nothing. Like, no one wants to help you, people just want to do their own thing and make money. So like, while you're here, please don't waste the opportunity, because it's really good and they all do it for well. And it would be terrible to get out of high school and have to use the military. So, yeah, I mean, apply college, don't apply college, do what you want to do with your life, but please don't let other people tell you what to do. Ever. Because I almost didn't get in because I was not like qualified fully all the way. And a bunch of people told me like, stop, you're not going to get it, go do something else. And I was stubborn and I didn't listen to it and it worked out. So if somebody tells you that you're not capable of getting to whatever college you want to go to, or someone tells you that you're going to go to trade school or you're a loser, or you're going to college or stupid, none of that's true. If you're successful, it's because of what you do. So don't let other people convince you that you're going to do it. Fun.